Well, joining us in the studio is James Bethell, Director of Nothing British About the BNP, the campaign group responsible for circulating today's letter. Nick Griffin, Chairman of the BNP, is in Strasbourg. We did ask all the generals who'd signed today's letter to come on the programme, but they wouldn't agree to debate Mr Griffin or indeed to appear. Nick Griffin, truth to tell, there's a high percentage of the British Army you wouldn't allow to be members anyway, at least 10% anyway, because they don't fit your ethnic criteria.
Yeah, that's entirely true. It doesn't mean they're not British. They're civically British, but the British National Party is here for the ethnic British who are otherwise unrepresented. It doesn't make us hostile to those other people. It just means that we're different from them.
And they may not join your party.
And at present they may not join our party, but we recognise and appreciate the sacrifices that they made and the service they brought to the British Army as much as anybody else.
Well, what's your problem with Mr Griffin's position?
Well, he claims to be sharing values with British military armed services. That's just not true. The armed services stand for courage, fairness, decency. Mr Griffin stands for segregation and confrontation.
Mr Griffin?
Well, Mr Bethell, of course, is a high-ranking Conservative. This whole thing is the Conservative Party having a go at a political rival. You're talking there to the 5th Lord Bethell, to a Tory Toff who's got no idea of what ordinary squaddies are going through in places like Afghanistan today, because our establishment insists on dragging us into wars that are nothing to do with us and sending our troops in improperly equipped.
It does seem rather odd that none of the generals that have signed your letter are prepared to come on and challenge Mr Griffin.
No, it was a short notice request and it was put to them after lunch, and I'm afraid they had other plans. But I'm here, and I'm here to explain what our campaign is about. But can I just pick up on one of Nick's points there? We're not a Tory front. That's just completely untrue. I was a candidate in the last election, and I do have a background in the Tory party. But our campaign is deliberately independent because we're not only trying to hold the BNP to account, we're also trying to hold the establishment to account, because we recognise there are people out in Britain who have had a tough time, who are not properly represented by the government, but I don't believe that Nick Griffin has the answer for those people.
Mr Griffin, isn't there a problem with some of the symbols that you use anyway? I mean, for a start, Winston Churchill's mother was American. She could not have been a member of your party. And the pilot in that Spitfire was a Pole, and it's doubtful he'd have been allowed to be a member of your party either.
We've got a number of Polish members whose fathers fought for this country during the Second World War. We're very proud to have those. We're opposed to mass Polish immigration
but
now.
The guy in that plane was a Pole. He would not have been allowed to be a member of your party. So you've rubbed out 10% of the British Army serving today, the Polish pilot in that plane, and possibly even Winston Churchill himself, because he had an American mother.
No, we've got no issue with people with American mothers. In fact, Winston Churchill wouldn't have had a place in any party.
She's said to have had a bit of Red Indian blood in her, according to the Daily Mail. She had a bit of Red Indian blood in her. You're in a terrible mess in the way that you try. Well, because because your interest is in stripping out the race of the people who may or may not join your party, and that, in the end, is what upsets people.
No, it's not. Our interest is the fact that Britain, if we're talking about immigration, that Britain is one of the most overcrowded countries in the world, that mass immigration is unfair, in fact, not just on the indigenous British, but also on settled ethnic minorities in Britain who've paid into our system. They should have their kids at the front of the housing queue, not people who've just arrived off a plane from Nigeria or Somalia.
Then why do you deny those Indian ethnic minorities, as you describe them, membership of your party? Why do you say they are unfit to join the British National Party?
We do not say they're unfit. Please don't put words into my mouth. We say that, or we've had a concern that when, for instance, we have the head of Operation Black Vote saying that they want to get large numbers of black people into the British National Party to destroy it, that would leave particularly the white working class in places like Burnley with no one standing up for them and giving them a political voice. That would be wrong. So we have to resist that, which we have done up until now.
The charge against you, surely, is that you're making more of a mountain than the molehill that the BNP really deserves.
I'm not sure about that. I think that there is a lot of anger out there that the BNP claim constantly in the rhetoric, propaganda, leaflets, newsletters that they do, to have this shared values with the military. It was, after all, the Euro election campaign called the Battle for Britain that got them 1 million votes in 2 places in Strasbourg. I'm really concerned that they will continue to draw on the warm feelings of the public towards the military to masquerade as group of people that...
But this is not unique to the BNP. Mrs Thatcher played to the great sort of patriotic virtues of Winston Churchill and the rest of it. Is the BNP doing anything so different?
They are. I mean, all politicians, you're right, at some point try to associate themselves with the military, and the voters can make a decision on whether those are plausible or not. What I'm worried about is that the BNP are making a deliberate strategy to try and gloss over the association with criminality, with incompetence, and with indecency that they have by associating themselves with the military.